Good morning on this episode. Episode 2, guys. So I am, of course, heading back to Indiana. I guess this is when I start talking to y'all. But we've got some fun things this week. I'm driving up to Indiana right now, going straight to work once I get there. I got some wine and some cocktail mixers, and we are going to also have a little party shindig tonight for the building. I'm going to get to all of this. I know you guys are new to my page. Some of you, I assume, like, you've been following me on my Instagrams and things like that, but I need to remember that, like, that's not the case. Like, you are brand new to, like, who the life of Elise is. And it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because I have so much to share, guys. I have built, I don't know, 4 to 6 different businesses, some bigger, some smaller. I've tapped into a lot of different things. I'm really all about just like trying things, like try and fail fast, because the quicker you can try and fail fast, the quicker you know if you like something or if you don't like something. And if you like it, then that probably is queuing you up to like step into it just a little bit more, you know? So, and then from there, you never know when something can be made a business. But anyway, before I get into all of that, today I'm driving, I'm going straight to work, and then after that, we're going to have a shindig kind of end of year celebration for the Oval Office building. That is the building that I actually own. It's a commercial building. There are 12 businesses inside this building. I bought it in 2022. It took me about a year to renovate it, and it took me about a year and a half to like really get stable with business owners, like tenants. I don't like calling them tenants because they're business owners, but they do lease the spaces from me, and just to find like the right groove of people. You know, not everybody gets along with everybody, not all personalities mingle well, so there's a lot of that in that type of environment, which was very new to me. So that took about a year and a half to like stabilize, but we have some awesome girls in there now, awesome women I should say, and from lash techs, brow techs, nail techs, massage therapists, spray tanning specialists, acne specialists, facialists, estheticians, hairstylists, all the above. And we also have a coffee shop in there, which is this Lean by Ova, which I also own, and there's some history with that. And also the reason why I just came out with, I don't know if you saw one of my shorts, but I just came out with building the coffee shop behind the scenes. So there's knick-knack things. I almost feel like I have to like establish all the things that I currently do, so that you guys are caught up to date. I think I spent my last episode talking about just like me getting into this channel, what I would probably generally be speaking about. It will be about my faith. It will be about my businesses heavily. I love entrepreneurship. I have so much advice and tips to give and guidance. I love mentoring and helping other people in that space. I love like fitness, and I love health, and I love being a Pilates girly. I love, you know, black coffee, not because it's like super healthy. It's just because I'm just a straight shooter type of person, and it's healthy. I love convenience. I love efficiency. I love data. I love numbers. And then, you know, we'll be talking about financial things. We'll be talking about investments. We'll be talking about, gosh, what else? Man, just like general lifeness of being a woman. And I'm engaged. No wedding date yet. We have no idea. We're kind of just like, let's get through life a little bit. The past year's been a little crazy because I did move from Indiana to Ohio for my fiance. So I've just been trying to stabilize my life. So there's going to be a lot of that too. We are going to Gulf Shores, Alabama for the Christmas and New Year time over the next couple weeks with Steven's family. So I'm super excited about that. So I will probably do an episode from there. And I want to make these more pretty and aesthetic and edit. Just give me some time. I will dive into that. But the life of an entrepreneur is pretty psycho, and there's a lot of things going on all the time. So if I don't just do this and pump out content and things that I want to talk about at that time, then I just probably won't do it. So this is me just being real with you guys. But maybe let's dive in now that I've kind of like reestablished a little bit of the day today. But let me kind of backtrack. So my kind of specialty, my history was I went to college. My parents were kind of just your standard American, family, go to school, go to college, get a good degree, get out, get a good job, pay your student loans off, live a good life, have some babies, and, that's the American dream. And not that that was wrong. I just didn't know what I didn't know, but I definitely had like a fire in me that was a lot deeper. And I didn't quite understand that until I went on throughout the course of my life. But anyway, I was always really good at math. I loved numbers. I think I liked solving numbers and coming up with a definitive answer. So then, I knew I was right or I knew I was wrong. And so I always just was like really good at that kind of stuff. I was also very good at art. I had two really weird sides to me. I had this creative artistic side, and then I had this mathematical equation side. I also was not very yes, I was good at math, but I had to try really hard. It's kind of one of those things that I said at the beginning of this episode was I would do it, I would take math class and I would take English class, and I hated English class. I was sucky. I was sucky at grammar. I hated it. I was always a very theatrical type of writer, emotional writer. I loved to write, but I didn't like the boundaries that were told to me how to write because of the stupid grammar stuff. So I just didn't really excel in that space at that time because I just didn't like it. But math, I liked it, so I kept pursuing it. I went on to get my accounting degree in college, and that's not because I wanted to be an accountant. I actually went to college to try to be an architect because I was like, I'm good at math, I'm good at drawing, I should be an architect. But I never knew that as a high schooler I should probably have been taking AutoCAD classes, building up my portfolio. I just had no clue, and neither did my parents. And it's just what in the world? So I tried to get into the architecture program at my university, and they basically were like, you have no portfolio, so I guess just try to get in this first semester with the 100 level classes, and we'll go from there. I don't know why they did that to me though, because it was kind of a waste of my time. I actually did really good in that first semester. I got a 3.4 GPA. I did Urban 100, Arc 100, Landscape 100, and I did really, really well because I liked it. But I still didn't have enough time to build an actual portfolio. So when it was time to get into this prestigious architecture program across the United States, I was not cutting it. So they basically were like, yeah, you're not going to get in. You can keep trying. And I'm like, I'm wasting time. So I ended up switching over to accounting just because it was the next best thing. And my parents always told me, be an accountant, be a doctor, be an architect, be an engineer, be a lawyer, and you'll live a good life. So that's kind of what I went to do. Like I said, I just got the job done. I didn't love it. I ended up graduating. I got an accounting job at this CPA firm. I probably was there for a year and a half. I hated it from the beginning. Oh my gosh, my type of personality as a cubicle accountant was not fitting for me. I really was just struggling. I was not happy. I was not good at the job because I just didn't like it. apply myself because I was uninterested. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back was when I was walking down this really long hallway. It was just me and one of the partners of the firm. I remember his name was Andy, and I will never forget this man. He's a super quiet guy. And it was just he and I. It felt like forever. We were just crossing paths, and he never once looked up and just looked at me and acknowledged me and said, "Hello, good morning, how are you?" And I remember thinking, is this the path I want to take? This sounds terrible. So I was like, either going to get fired from that place or I was going to quit, and I knew it was going to be one of the two. So I started looking. I was dating a guy at that time, and he was like, "Elise, you are a salesperson through and through." And I was like, "Sleazy salesperson? Ew, I don't like that." But he was like, no, it's different. Like, corporate sales is different. It's not like that. So he's like, "Your personality is really good when it comes to talking to people and all that good stuff." So I listened to his advice, and I started looking into sales roles, and I ended up finding a sales role in a off Craigslist. It's crazy. Off Craigslist, because in order to get into sales role, you have to have sales experience. So I went and found this like sales real estate role. It wasn't a real estate agent role. It was this big time investor from California was taking some money that he had acquired from the sale of one of his like chemical companies, I don't know. And he was out in California, and he was looking for what he called market managers in every up and coming city of the US. And when I mean up and coming city, like kind of like cities that were growing rapidly but still had really distressed homes in the city area. And so he would buy them on bulk, like on like for wholesale at like $5,000 a pop, and then he would have market managers, aka me, in every of these growing cities. And I would have to go out, take this list of like 40 properties, all these distressed homes in not so good areas, and I would have to determine, like, is it something that we could, I would hire a contractor, and I would hire a real estate agent to get into the property, and us three would walk the property. I would kind of just, over time, I just got experience with that, and I would pick and choose, like, yeah, I think we could probably put like, $10,000 into this to rehab it, and we could probably flip it for, $50K, or we could keep it and rent it to a tenant. And that kind of, weirdly enough, I say this because this is going to pop back up in the future at least, in future episodes, but that's what kickstarted my love for real estate. That was my first sales job, and after I left the accounting firm, I actually got let go from the accounting firm, and it was not a surprise, and I was it was hilarious because she's like, the HR lady is telling me that I was, getting let go, and I was like, okay, and when you're checked out, you're like, I was already looking. So I actually left, and as I'm walking out of the lobby, I had my offer letter from that market manager position. So it was all God's timing, all God's plan. It's the one next step that got me into the next thing. But I'm telling you guys about this little real estate sales role because that is the thing that really started lighting a little sparkle at my eye about real estate investments. And it really changed the way I looked at investing. And I was probably 22, 23 at the time. I was very young, and I just didn't quite understand. I thought I was supposed to go to school to be an accountant, and that was that. But I ended up losing my job from that after working because that investor actually ex-nate the whole project. But it gave me enough sales experience to get into my first real corporate sales role. 7 years later, I went into different types of tech sales roles. Somewhere in software, somewhere in network and infrastructure, somewhere in recruiting. I mean, it was kind of all over the board, but I loved it. It was one of those things that, you had a base salary that was able to pay your bills, but then you also had the opportunity to work hard and share solutions to the end customer across from you with the product that you were selling. And if you were really good at bringing value to the table, then you worked hard, then you made good money. And I made some of the best money at like age 25, 26. I mean, I was like, I think I was bringing in like $160,000, and it was just the best like time of my life, because I was able to pay off my car at that time. I had some other debts and things like that, so it was just like a really good, that was the first moment that I realized I will never not be in some form of a sales position. I hadn't tapped into entrepreneurship yet. I didn't quite understand what business ownership was yet, but my life was starting to go that route, and I had no idea. I went on to do some more, sales roles, like I said, and I just still wasn't fulfilled. I was always a really good, saleswoman, and I loved it, but it just never was fulfilled. And I just felt like there is something holding me back. I wanted more freedom. I wanted to call the shots. I knew I was really efficient. I could work really hard. Like, I remember getting a lot of my contracts and deals done like the first couple weeks of the month. Like, if we had a 30-day month, quota, I would get all of my stuff done by the 15th of the month. I would also get a lot of my productivity work done between the hours of 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. And I really started understanding the power of efficiency. And so when I realized that I was wasting time, from the hours of like 12 to 5, I was like, this life ain't for me. I started losing interest. And after that, I ended up, like, I'll tell you the story about how I became a lash artist and brow artist, but that was the first step into becoming an entrepreneur. And so I remember I told you guys I have this creative side to me. So I saw a girlfriend who had these beautiful eyelashes, and I asked her where she got them done. I went and visited the lady who did it. She started doing my eyelashes. In every single appointment, I would go in there and I would ask her, her name was Tracy, and I would ask her, Tracy, like, how many appointments do you do a day? And she's like, I do about 10 appointments. And I was like, how much do you charge again? She's like, about $100. It's $1,000 a day. And so I was like, how many days a week are you working? She's like, I work about 6 days a week. And I was like, that's $6,000 a week. And I'm like, I'm busting my butt over here, trying just to make a little over $150. And so, that was crazy. And so she was like, Elise, why don't you just and I asked her about her costs and things, because remember I told you that my background was in accounting, and I was like, how much do you pay for your materials? And she's like, chump change. I mean, it was so small. Her space that she rented out, I think it was like $450 a month. So if you can imagine, this woman was bringing in about $24,000 a month. This is crazy, like crazy money. And so she was like, I don't know why you keep asking me. How about I just train you to do this? And thankfully, she did say that. I mean, now looking back, she was, doing that because that was another sales channel for her. Like, she trained women in lashes, and I ended up taking her up on it. And I ended up doing it, and it was a hard skill. It's not something that you come out of feeling super confident about right away, and that's a whole other episode for you lash and brow girlies out there. But I ended up putting it down. I was really discouraged, and then I kept feeding my friends to her, and all my friends kept coming back and said, hey, Tracy said you were the best in her class, and she doesn't understand why you aren't doing this, and you need to do it. And so I don't know why I needed to hear that confidence booster or that encouragement, but I did at that time. I think the corporate sales world was eating me alive, and I was just like, I needed that. It was just the right timing. And I ended up just telling myself, like, Elise, if you want change, you got to make it. You got to do the you got to do the change. And I picked up my stuff and I started charging like $20 a lash appointment, and girls would come to my house, and I was, doing their eyelashes on my couch. I mean, it was literally crazy times. That business went on to really serving me so well, and I still do it to this day. I only work 4 days out of the month though, but I still do it to this day. It went on to serve me so incredibly well. I was able, a year and a half after that, I felt stable enough and comfortable enough to purchase my first home with the money I saved. I renovated a room in that home. I moved into that home and started to become a actual licensed. I actually went back to beauty school and got my aesthetics license, and really made myself legitimate. And so I was, after school, took about 10 months to accomplish that. I quit corporate America. I went all in on the lash business. I was working probably from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., 9 p.m. days. I mean, it was 12-hour days, many days, 6 days a week, and business just took off. And then from there, I baby stepped into the next big thing, and that was to lease out a commercial space. I ended up doing that for 4.5 years. That's when business really excelled, because I think I was just able to take on more customers at that time. I always had a couple lash artists working with me. I never made a huge team. I didn't really like the idea of having a huge team, because I don't love managing people. I think that takes away from the things that I absolutely love and what I'm good at, which is vision, execution, inspiration, and creativity, and innovation. And so when you start managing and growing in that way, it kind of takes away from you being the person that needs to go out and build the business. So I always kept my team small, and I loved it like that. Bigger is not always better. But I did smart things with my money, and cue in the real estate stuff. That's when I started getting into realizing, like, hey, I actually have extra cash. I could go, I had bought my first home. I started house hacking that house, so I would have roommates that would rent for me and basically pay my mortgage. I think that house was $800 a month for that mortgage, and I think I was charging like $700 for a room to live there for a roommate. So I was having to pay $100 on my mortgage, and that was like when I first learned house hacking, and that was fun. Met some fun roommates too during those years, and then I would just save money, and I ended up purchasing a few more residential properties along the way, and we'll get into all that. And then I kind of took it a step further, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm ready to get into the big ring, and that was to buy my first commercial property, and that is what Lofts is. That's where I'm driving to today, and that's where we have the 12 businesses in. And I knew from the moment, going back to the days that I would do lashes on my couch, I remember telling my customers, lashes isn't it for me. Lashes is going to be a catalyst to a bigger thing. I want to own my own building one a day. I want to have a bigger thing. And I remember saying that literally back in 2016, that's almost 10 years ago, and I ended up achieving that. And I do believe I'm very, 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 very adamant about really going after, saying something and just working towards that, and not giving up, and not losing focus. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get to where you need to go. Like, you need to at least put a pin in something, and however you get there is not going to be perfect, and it's probably not going to go the way you thought it was going to go, but you're going to get there, because if you're that focused on getting and achieving that end goal, you will get there. Well, I got there. And then, of course, guess what? Great. It's awesome, but I still have a lot of more exciting, fun things that I want to do in my life and achieve and create and build. So I built that. It's growing great. I love the women in there, and it's awesome. But now it's time to continue on and build more things. And that's when, about the time that the coffee business has started kind of taking off, that's a whole thing in itself. That business was so hard for about a year and a half. We didn't start profiting until maybe 6 months ago. Trying to find more unique sales channels with that to try to grow that on a bigger scale. I'm always looking to invest in other businesses or other concepts and things like that. So, you'll see me throughout the next several years continue to do that until the day that I die, I'm sure. But most recently, I've gotten into business consulting finally after 10 years of building multiple businesses, building my residential real estate portfolio, building my commercial real estate portfolio, building my lash and brow business, building my coffee business. I'm now tapping into business consulting, and where, I help out business owners who are already current business owners and they're just stuck and they don't know what to do next, how to execute their business out there, how to use social media to get it marketed, how to understand their numbers on the back end, and understand their focus. Like, I've got all these things going on, how do I really bring it in focus? And so I have business consulting going off. We'll get into details with that later. But it's really a mix of everything. I've literally pulled all of my experiences, all of my knowledge in business, real estate, different investments. I've also bought land before and sold it. So, there's just so much crazy, weird stuff that I've gotten into, and I've got definitely advice and things to give. So stay tuned. I think this was super packed of I shouldn't even say knowledge yet, but just kind of where my life path has ventured to and what I'll be starting to get into, and we'll dive more into that on the nitty gritty. I'd love to talk to you guys about how I built my first carriage home. I'd love to talk to you guys about how I built the coffee business. I'd love to talk to you guys about using assistants, virtual assistants, regular personal assistants. I've gotten into. I'd love to talk to you about doing my High Rocks workout that I just did in Chicago in November, and training for that. I'd love to talk about just my faith and my journey, and why I was, started off as being in the Pentecostal church and Apostolic Church, and went non-denominational through my family, kind of fell off, and then rekindled my love for Jesus. Always had my love for Jesus, but my actual practicing at the age of 30, when I read the Bible front to back. It took me 3 years because I took my time reading it, needing to actually read it again. So there's just so much stuff that I want to give, information, knowledge, tips, advice, and just have an everyday conversation. Something that I can't do on Instagram. I can't do it on TikTok. And so this is my way of getting out there. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys have a great week before Christmas. And I hope you enjoy it with family, and God bless you.